Well, good morning. Pulling up my words here for you. It is so good to be with you all in the very same sanctuary where over 25 years ago, I actually first became a member of a Unitarian Universalist church. Most of you probably won't remember me. I was only here for 2 years. We moved away to go to grad school after those 2 years, but UUCC was deeply formative to me. I actually first felt the call to ministry sitting where you're sitting right now. If you had told me back then that I would one day be coming here as this congregation's intern minister, it would have brought me such joy. I am so glad to be back. This year, our worship themes are based on the poem that was read last week called When It Really Is Just the Wind and Not a Furious Vexation by Kyle Tran Myrie. And this poem imagines future apocalypses and comes to the conclusion that survival is not a fortress, it is a garden. Though Molly and the worship team here weren't aware of this when they chose the themes for this year, they inadvertently played into my particular nerddom. I am a huge fan of apocalyptic narratives. Not the biblical kind, of course, but the breakdown of modern society kind, where all hell breaks loose and the systems that we rely on know the work. I know, it's a weird thing to be a fan of, but I am a fan. You know the kind I'm talking about. The reason for the apocalypse always varies in these stories. Aliens, a plague of some kind, nuclear war, zombies. But in all these different versions, everyone wears secondhand leather and has a hidden dagger in their boots and scavenges things like canned pudding and ramen noodles. They're all just doing what they can to survive, but they look so cool doing it. I like apocalyptic literature and films because they show us what's important when everything else gets stripped away. They show us who we might become when everything falls to pieces. They show us what survival might look like. But in many ways, this isn't just about possible futures, is it? It's kind of our current reality in some ways. Many systems of support we have relied on for decades have fallen apart. They feel shaky or even completely broken. And let's ask Chicago or DC or, as I recently heard, Memphis, if we are at the all hell breaks loose stage. We may not be reduced to canned pudding just yet, but we are in many ways fighting for our own survival. So I'm currently a member of a group on social media called Liberal Preppers, which admittedly sounds like a bit of an oxymoron. I joined it back in the early part of the pandemic when no one really knew what to expect, and I thought maybe I better stockpile things. The content on the group is an interesting mix of posts about practical things, like how to store lentils long-term in Mylar bags with oxygen absorbers, in case you were wondering, and loving posts about systemic things like radical mutual aid support networks. Like me, everyone in the group is really worried about the apocalypse-like reality we find ourselves. But everyone in the group is also really hopeful about how we survive it. So, my favorite apocalyptic narrative is zombies. Now, I know I don't look like your average zombie fan. The joke in my family is that during the apocalypse, the zombie apocalypse, I can make delicious meals from the barest of pantries, so I would be saved by all the warriors so that I could cook their food. And true, zombies aren't everyone's favorite, I know that, but stay with me for a minute. I promise there will be no brains eaten in my sermon today. So one of my favorite shows in the zombie genre is The Walking Dead. There's a line in one of the scenes where one character asks another how they can make their shelter safer with higher fences, bigger, badder weapons, more ammunition, all the things. He's obsessed with keeping his people safe, with stockpiling everything they need. The other character tells him, "No, man, you're thinking about it all wrong. The only thing that ever truly makes any of us safer," he says, "are our relationships. The only thing that actually makes us safer are our relationships." That's it. When things fall apart, what can save us is, it turns out, us. Our loved ones, our friendships, our connections, our church. As the lead character of Rick in The Walking Dead says, as long as it's all of us, we can do anything. Things are better when we turn to each other in hard times, when we realize that our survival is bound up together. As the line from the poem from the reading last week says, "In every universe in which I am alive, it is because of other people." And as it almost always does, it turns out the natural world has a profound lesson for us about this kind of survival. In the reading from Robin Wall Kimmerer's Sweetgrass, you heard about one of the geniuses of native planting, the method of companion planting called the Three Sisters. The concept is simple but profound. 3 plants, corn, beans, and squash, which are all planted on a mounded hill together in the garden, all in the same space. The first sister, which is the corn, and corn is basically a grass on steroids, if we're being honest. It grows first, and it grows fast. She's bold and headstrong, and as an oldest daughter myself, I 100% get her. Her stalk is already 6 inches tall before the bean sister pokes her head out of the ground. As the second sister's vine reaches the sun, she gets an energy spurt and needs something to climb on. How perfect that the corn is already there, with its strong and steady stalk, just right for the bean to grow on. Then the third sister, the squash, which might be a pumpkin or an acorn squash or something along those lines. The third sister begins to grow. But like many baby sisters, she chooses her own path, spreading out horizontally rather than vertically, covering the ground with her wide leaves, keeping the soil cool and the weeds out. They help the bean, then they all help the bean, I understand. The help the bean sister gives to the trio is hidden underground. Legumes have the ability to convert atmospheric nitrogen to nitrogen in the soil. The corn and the squash can't do this alone. Only the bean has this special skill. Like many second sisters, she is more capable than anyone knows. She converts the nitrogen and shares it underground with her sisters. They all lean on each other and support each other. Onions and marigolds keep pests away. We often see other kinds of companion planting in the garden. Carrots and tomatoes, helping to make certain they each have what they need. Cucumbers, shading tender lettuces. These plants are each bound up in the survival and thriving of each, a kind of reciprocal collective flourishing. And it is their relationship with each other that saves them. In times of survival, our best bet at collective thriving is to turn to relationships, to be both garden and gardener for each other, to reach out for the nitrogen we need and provide others the steady stalk they need. Survival is not a fortress. It is a garden. And that shift from fortress to garden, it is not just a poetic metaphor, but it is a choice for how to be and move through the world. That shift from fortress to garden also moves us from merely surviving to truly thriving. To restate the line from the poem, "In every universe in which I thrive, it is because of other people." Higher walls and more guns and bigger tanks and more Mylar bags of lentils are not how we thrive. Remember the three sisters. A seed is a precarious thing when it is first planted. Its survival is not certain. It needs the right temperature, the right supports, it needs the right amount of water, the sun, the nitrogen, all along with not too many weeds or pests, all those things just to make it, just to survive. But the three sisters had most of what they needed within their relationships with each other. Alone, each of them might survive if they're lucky, but together, they not only survive, they thrive. They lean on one another both literally and figuratively. They are garden and gardener, tending to each. During difficult times like these, who do you turn to? Who do you lean on? What communities, what spaces can you turn to? Who can you ask for help for the nitrogen you need? Now, look, I'm going to be real honest with you, and I'm right here, my first sermon to you all, I am naming a growth edge for myself. I am not always great at reaching out for help. When I get stressed, my knee-jerk response is just often to turn inward. If I'm not careful, I go hyper-independent. It's that oldest daughter in me. Anyone recognize that? Yep. I will try to muscle through like a solo cornstalk alone in a field, and I wind up feeling disconnected and more stressed than before. I am learning to not let myself be that solo cornstalk. It isn't sustainable, and it isn't how we thrive. We might survive, but we're not going to thrive. Maybe you struggle with leaning on others too, but what I know for certain from personal experience is that turning inward doesn't usually help anything. Reaching out for connection and community is what helps. We are stronger, better, and yes, safer together. In Braiding Sweetgrass, Kimmerer writes that the way of the three sisters reminds me of one of the basic teachings of our people. The most important thing each of us can know is our unique gift and how to use it in the world. Individuality is cherished and nourished because in order for the whole to flourish, each of us has to be strong in who we are and carry our gifts with conviction so that they can be shared with others. Being among the sisters provides a visible manifestation of what a community can become when its members understand their gifts and share them with others. In reciprocity, we fill our spirits as well as our bellies. Oh, my friends, in our world today, so many of our loved ones are being targeted with hate. The news is hard to turn on some days. As my very southern grandma used to say, it's getting ugly up in here. I believe that by sharing our gifts and leaning on each other, we can collectively dream and work for a different world, collective liberation. My flourishing is tied with your flourishing. Your thriving is bound up with mine. The grubs of hate and injustice and oppression have been hiding out in our garden for ages, and the fight against them is ongoing. We are part of a long river of people generations back who are willing to show up for this task. And the truest, deepest part of this work isn't what you think an apocalypse looked like. No, it's not weapons, it's not walls, it's relationships and mutual aid and church and knitting circles and laughing over tea with a friend. Because even in periods of great change and struggle, moments of happiness will continue. Babies will be born, people will fall in love, we will find reasons to laugh. The audacity of joy is a resistance in itself. During a scene from The Walking Dead, a character stops herself in the middle of laughing and feeling joyful and immediately feels bad about it. After all, the world is falling apart around her. But one of my favorite characters, Carol, says to her quite forcefully, no, you take happiness wherever you can get it, and don't ever be sorry for it. Throughout human history, I wager that in every tough spot people have ever found themselves in, they also found small moments of joy. Sometimes it's the only weapon we have. Find the joy where you can. Take moments of rest, take time to hold babies and swing on swing sets and eat ice cream and dance. Even this is a resistance. Even this is revolution. We are all feeling a lot of fear and anxiety right now. We just are. And nothing that I can say this morning is going to change that, but we don't have to do what fear says. Fear says to turn inward, to turn away from the world, but we can beat it by turning to each other instead, with radical honesty about our needs. Fear says to give up or stop trying. We can defeat it by doing the good work of love and liberation and community, no matter what. Fear says all is lost, but revolutionary, audacious joy says that even in the midst of what feels like falling apart, we have to keep going. Like the three sisters, may we choose to lean on each other, sharing our gifts so that all may flourish. We are how we get through, my friends. We are both garden and gardener, each tending to each. We are seed and soil and sun and rain and harvest. You be the beans, I'll be the corn. You got the squash. We are how we thrive. So may it be, so may we become.